Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. I'm back. It's season 2, episode 12 of my podcast, P is for Plog. My name is Paul. I'm a plogger. I'm a professional plogger. What I do is I go out for a run every day and I pick up some trash and I'm trying to make a career from it. I don't know if it's going to work. I've been doing it for over 6 months now, since October last year. My money runs out next month, so it's a little bit exciting, but hopefully I can get some more sponsors and continue, because I've got some big plans for 2027, for not just 2026, but for in 2 years, 3 years. I've got a whole set of things I want to do, but let's talk about what I've just done. I've just finished an almost 1,500 kilometer plog around the country, picking up trash in a banana suit. And that's what we're going to be talking about. This episode is called P is for Perplexed. I don't know how I did it, but I'm going to try and break down how I managed to do this. Let's get this going.
Plug it and tag it and post it and bin it. Plug it and tag it and post it and bin it.
Okay, so I just made that up on the spot. I didn't actually have a title for it. I was thinking, what should I call it? And Perplexed is actually what I'm just going through. How the hell did I do this? So for those that don't know, the idea was in May I would run every day at least a marathon. Some days were more, some days were 70 kilometers. And I was running around the country, running around the Netherlands, picking up trash with a buggy and all my gear in it, in a banana suit. That was the plan. The idea was to do something that would really push myself, that I really could put my hand on my heart and say, I've got no clue if I can do this or not. If you want to inspire people, you've got to really do something extreme these days. I saw on a TikTok, for instance, when I did the can dress running in Rotterdam Marathon on TikTok, suddenly I got 400,000 people looking at my video. The next day it went down to 700. I was like thinking, okay, that's fantastic, but how does that engage with them going forward? How can I really make an impact? How can I really do something that is longer lasting? So that was the idea of this, was to do something that had that epic level of adventure and of grandiose, uh, yeah, yeah, just do something just so crazy that it would inspire people and it keep on inspiring them. They want to see what happens the next day. That was the idea behind it, to do something that would go beyond a day, go beyond a week. It would actually be longer than that, and then carry on afterwards in people's memories. I don't know if that's been achieved. It's definitely going to be something that carries on in my memory forever, because it was just so beyond what I thought was possible. I've made a few videos now where I've sort of always said I want to see where I can where my boundary lies. I want to see how far I can push myself. I want to see how far I can go before I break down. I do these things with the intent to fail. I want to push myself so far that I fail, that I know, right, that's as much as I can. But it's extraordinary if you don't fail. And that started years ago, sort of back in when I was celebrating my 10th anniversary as a plogger in 2021. And so I thought, what can I do? So I decided to run a continuous 100 kilometers picking up trash. Again, I didn't know if I could do it, and I did. And every time I do these things, I really think, can I do it? Am I going to fail? The one I nearly failed on was in January when I did the Earth suit. So for that, I had a 32 kilogram globe Earth suit that was filled with 1,000 water bottles, plastic bottles. And that really was exhausting. That broke me a little bit. It took me 4 hours to do a half marathon, which was way too long. I need to sort of do it quicker than that. So I've had to adjust my plans for Amsterdam. I've got a really exciting plan that I'll be actually showcasing tomorrow at a climate marathon here in Utrecht with Running for Climate. That nearly broke me. But this I succeeded. I ran in 1 month 1,472 kilometers, give or take 5 kilometers. It was actually 1,477, but shh, don't tell anyone. And it took me the whole month. So how did I do it? Because I sort of said, I think it's 50-50 whether I can do this or not. The truth is, in the morning, before I made it to the start line, I had to go 3 kilometers to get to the start line. And that was in that morning at sort of 8 o'clock in the morning was the first time I actually put all of my gear into the buggy. I put it all in there and luckily it just fit, only just. And I pushed it and I was like, this is just ridiculous. It was around 40 kilos of baggage, clothing, food that I needed and everything, all the camera equipment, laptops and things, everything I needed for that entire month I needed to take with me. I had to put it into the buggy. And I pushed it 10 meters and I went, I can't do this. I really cannot do this. How can I? This is just so ridiculously hard for me just to push this around a corner. How can I run 31 marathons pushing this thing? I had no idea. I think whereas before, I would sort of say as a 50-50 chance, the realistic, the honest thing that was going through my head was it's closer to a 40% chance. It was less than, it was more likely that I wouldn't be able to do it. That was my assessment before I even got to the start line. So how did I do it? And that's what I want this episode to be about, because I've been going around to a few schools since then and during the event. And a lot of the time, the question these kids ask is really an astute question. How do you train for it? And I think a better answer is, how did I do it now, having sort of done it? Because the answer was, how can you train for it? I did do a couple of marathons in a row with the buggy, but the buggy was empty. So I knew that I could run at least with the buggy. But I didn't really train hard. I sort of relied on a lot of my endurance. I was running a lot. I run a lot, but how can you train for 350 kilometers a week? How can you train for an entire day for 31 days, day after day, hours after hours? How can you train for that? It just wasn't something you can train for. It's not something you can really prepare for. You can just see, right, I'm as fit as I can be. Let's see what happens. So I went to that start line really not knowing, and in fact expecting to fail. I think, for you that have been listening to this podcast, or for you that have been um, following me on my journey, maybe you had a higher expectation that I could do it. Maybe you had a higher expectation that I would do it, that I would be so determined to do it. The determination was never in question. The people that know me know that I will go until I drop. I will really try my hardest. I remember the mayor at the start line, so the mayor of Harlem, he just said, look after yourself, be careful, don't push yourself, don't go beyond what you can. And I was like, then I wouldn't start. I was like thinking, if I need to follow that advice, I wouldn't be able to start. So how did I do it? Because, and I'm going to be honest, I didn't have the moments I was expecting. I was expecting to have those sort of deep, dark moments where I was like thinking, I cannot take another step. I certainly had really, moments where I was like going, oh man, I'm really tired. Or, there was one specific day that I was building up to, which was the sort of getting close to the end. I think it was the 26th or something along those lines. So I had to go from Balk to Lelystad, and that was going to be 70 kilometers minimum. It was from A to B. I had no choice. I had to get it. And all the way through my preparations, that was the one that was haunting me. That was the date that was haunting me. I was like thinking, okay, if I get there, is this the moment where I fail? Because how can I sort of do something so, how can I push myself so far, so close to the end? after having done so many marathons. That was the day I was dreading. And on that day, my leg really hurt. I had real problems with my leg. I had Eric with me who was following me on the bike and sort of running, sort of cycling along beside me. And, I told him, I'm really busted now. I had to get the foam roller out. That was the only time I had to get the foam roller out during the event to actually sort of try and sort of massage my legs. I know I've seen sort of videos of people doing ultra distances and they will get a massage halfway around on the day, or they're sort of like doing, they've done 30 kilometers and then suddenly they're on a table having a massage from a masseur who's just following them around. I was completely unsupported. But I found it crazy that it only was one time where I actually felt that my legs were cramping up or were about to cramp up, that I needed to get a foam roller out. So in that respect, I didn't really run into the difficulties that I thought I would. But I really don't want people to think that it was easy. You can't run 31 marathons. Yeah, it was tough. I just didn't have that drama that I was expecting. I didn't have the drama that I think you see in all those YouTube videos. I am going to be making a YouTube video of it, and I know that, I think the working title at the moment is "It doesn't have to be drama." You don't have to have drama to tell a positive story, to tell an inspirational story. We're so used to it. We're so used to, oh, they're about to fail, and then suddenly, we're so used to it from the Hollywood movies about sort of it's all gone wrong and everything's gone failed and there's no hope left, and then suddenly they pull it out the bag and they succeed. It wasn't like that. It was tough, but it was, but I did it. So how did I do it? And that's what I want to talk about now. How did I do it? And the answer is simple. The biggest reason that I was able to succeed in doing this, in this crazy adventure, this 1,500-kilometer adventure in 1 month, running around the Netherlands, picking up trash in a banana suit. How did I do it? I did it because of community, because of people, because of different groups of people. That's how I did it. Every dark moment, I got rescued by someone or a group of people that suddenly lifted it up. There was all this talk during the event about how I wasn't eating much during the day, and that's true. But I've spent decades doing fasted runs every morning. If I wanted to go for a run, I had to get it done in the morning before breakfast, and I really did not like having a full stomach going for a run. So I had to get my runs in before work. Sometimes they were big runs, and I always did them fasted. I'm just so used to it, and I think that has a benefit and a downside to it as well. The downside was I just could not face a lot of food on the day, so I had to make sure that my breakfast in the morning, sort of well before I started, was a big breakfast, and I had to make sure that I really ate in the evenings to get enough fuel in my body so that it could use it the next day. Definitely do not do what I do. This is not good advice for anyone. It's just how I've been working. I've been a runner for 45 years. This is just who I've become. This is not something that you should sort of try and replicate or think if he did that, then I can do it. No, it's after decades of sort of getting to this point where this is who I am as a runner. First of all, before I talk about people, there are some other things that definitely helped, and the biggest one is actually on my arm. Vegan. I'm not saying that everyone will benefit from being a vegan, but like I've done. But I've said this before on this podcast. When I was a meat eater, I was like one of the biggest meat eaters, and I would love meat. And I was getting quite fast. I did my fastest marathon, 3 hours 23, and And I was like thinking, right, I want to go faster. I want to get down to sort of closer to 3. I want to get closer to 3:15 and beyond. So I thought, all right, I'll train more. But as soon as I went above 60 kilometers a week, I would get injured. Every time I tried to get above 60 kilometers a week, I would be injured. This is as a 40-year-old. Yeah, this is as a sort of 42-year-old, I think 43. I'm now 58 and I've just run 1,500 kilometers in a month. How can you go from a person that was skinnier, was less weight, so I was lighter, fitter, younger. As soon as I hit 60 kilometers a week, I would get injured. How can I go from that to someone that can run 350 kilometers for 4 weeks each week over the 300 kilometers? How is that possible? And for me, the biggest impact in my life as a runner is being vegan. That's the reason why I became vegan. It's not the reason why I stay vegan, but the very first reason why I became, or the most important reason why I went vegan, well, it was actually two things. Was one, to get the cool T-shirt that said plant-based runner. I wanted that, or vegan runner. I wanted to have that on my shirt because I was vegetarian at the time. When I switched to vegan, I was like, okay, vegetarian seems like a halfway house. It's like vegetarian runner. It's not as cool as vegan runner. So I wanted to do it for sort of trivial reasons. But the main reason is I just wanted to see if I felt even better as a vegetarian runner. I realized how much better my body worked. It just works better. And for whatever reason you want to go into, I hear all these talks about, okay, as a vegetarian, as a plant based, or as a vegetarian, or as a vegan, however you want to call it, as a non meat eating sort of runner, you have less inflammation. Sort of eating meat can lead to inflammation, and so, and I think, I feel that when I ate meat, I could really feel that recovery was slower. As a vegan, it just goes through your system a lot quicker. There's no other way of saying that. It goes through your system. It doesn't hang around in your body. It's like, get all the stuff out of it and get out of your body. It's kind of like that. And you just feel lighter. It feels like you're recovering quicker. And I think that is a testament. That is undoubtedly the factor that got me to the start line. I'm not saying it's the reason why I managed to do it, but it's definitely the reason why I could even attempt to do this, or even think I could attempt to do this, is because I work better. Now, I said it's not the reason why I stay vegan. What I discovered was, suddenly as a vegan, I have a lightness of soul. Suddenly I'm ethically, with regards to animals, I just kind of go, I'm not killing these animals. I'm not impregnating them for milk. I'm not doing anything to harm these animals, or as little harm as I can to animals on this planet. It gives me a lightness of soul, and it gives me an incredible achievement of, I know how much impact meat, in terms of consumption from people, has on the resources on the planet. There is no doubting that. If you want to make the biggest change you can in the environment, that's go plant-based, go vegetarian, go flexitarian, whatever you want to do, eat less meat, and you will have a huge benefit on the environment. So those are the two reasons: ethics and the environment. The reason why I'll always be vegan, which is why I'm so happy to have vegan as a tattoo. So veganism got me to the start line. And I think it's the reason why I could even consider attempting this. But it wasn't necessarily the reason why I got over the finish line. There are some elements that I think have really helped, and those are sort of the recovery boots. So I was gifted from Blackroll the recovery boots. And I sort of asked them for it and say, could you lend me? And they went, you can have them. So let's support you. So they gave me the recovery boots, or they gifted it to me, and I think those really did help. When I said to people during the time, I said, I have no reference point. I can't tell you if it makes a difference or if it doesn't make a difference. I can just say that I did it, and I use the recovery boots. That's all I could say. Having said that, since the end of May, so we're now on the 19th of June, what do I think now? And I think they do make an impact, or they, whether it's a placebo, whatever you want to say, they definitely are something that I will continue using excitedly. So I had sort of my, by the time I finished, and I'll talk more about it another time, sort of afterwards, sort of a couple of weeks, a couple of days later, my body just went in down, okay, you're tired now, you've got to recover. And so my legs were really sort of tired, and I could feel they were stiff here and there, but I wasn't using the recovery boots. When I tried the recovery boots as a test, just tried it on one leg and not on the other one, I was like, wow, the difference is huge the next day. I mean, you can compare that to, I mean, if I did the same thing with a foam roller, you'd have the same result. So it definitely helps. How big that level is, I'm still not going to say, but I would encourage people. I think the recovery boots are definitely something that are fantastic. They're quite expensive for an individual, but I think definitely sort of friends who are runners, they should sort of club together and then get a set and they just share it. It's just a nice wipe down surface, and you're just using it on legs. It's not unhygienic. So I would say just buy some as a group of people. Then it costs you like €100 each, and just sort of share them. If one of you is doing a marathon, say, right, for your long runs here, use them. Or you do a long run together, then you all just sort of make use of it afterwards. So something along those lines, I think, is really cool. And I really believe it made a huge difference. So the recovery boots is a huge shout out. The other one I was really good on was my recovery shake. So I made sure that I had a recovery shake straight away. So for tomorrow, I've got a climate marathon, or I'll be doing a marathon tomorrow. And I've already got my blender charged up. It's one of those cordless ones, and I'll be taking it with me. So as soon as I finish the morning activity, which is going to be 27 kilometers for the climate marathon, it's call it a marathon, but it's not really a marathon. So 27 kilometers, I'll be straight away using a recovery shake afterwards, and then before my next evening run. So it'll be in total, I will do a marathon tomorrow. So the recovery shake was definitely something. The other thing is, I'm going to be doing a proper shout out to these places, is the hotels and the B&Bs and all the accommodation that I had. That was a lot of stress getting it organized before the run, but having them support me was just so overwhelming. And they were so fantastic and just so incredible. Every overnight I had was fantastic. I really think that they played a huge part in making my life easy. I had full on days, whether it was, in the morning, I was trying to do a cleanup, and then I'd have to sort of head out and do my marathon that could be almost 2 marathons on some days, getting all that done, then coming back, doing a live stream, then after the live stream, having to recover and get food in, get recovered, get the recovery process going, and then still get out a reels in the evening. All of that was just, there was about sort of 2 hours a week each week where I actually had some free time, where I was like thinking I don't have to do anything for the next hour. It was that limited. So all of the help that I got from the hotels, the B&Bs and the places, I'm just incredibly grateful for. They were all so fantastic and supportive. Loved it. So I think they played a big part in sort of me achieving the specific task that sort of the structure that I had of being self-supported. And of course, my sponsors. I'm going to be talking more and more about the sponsors over these podcasts and over my weekly vlog. So for those that are listening on Spotify, over on YouTube, I'll be doing a weekly vlog style thing, just recounting what I've done that week. And I really want to sort of shout out to the sponsors, but huge shout out to the sponsors. I'll list them below in the description. And again, I'm so grateful because they got me to this point. I now need more sponsors because I can't pay the mortgage without them, but I want to work with brands. I want to work and partner with them and make the impact bigger. And I want to do that together with sponsors, whether it's as an ambassador or whether it's just as someone with their logo on the shirt. I want to work with these, partner with them to really make a bigger difference. But definitely thanks to all the sponsors who got me to the finish line. You've given me the platform to go ahead, and so I'm super grateful for that. But now I've got a list. I'm going to just look at my list now. Otherwise, I'm going to sort of not go through it all. I'm not going to be mentioning too many names. There's a couple of call outs I want to do, but if I start mentioning names, then it's just I'm going to miss people. So there are a couple of people I'm going to specific call out. But so if you're not mentioned, you are mentioned. Oh, you know what I mean. Because the reason why I did this was because of people. And that is without a doubt. I will say, I will give two examples before I go through the names that are so clear to me of how important people were in helping me succeed. Both of these were near the end of the month, these situations. And I mentioned one already, so let's go straight through to that one. So it was that long 70-kilometer day. I was getting pain in my leg. I was really struggling. Eric was with me on the bike, and he can't really help me at all. So I'm just literally just on my own pushing along. But I've got sort of moral support from Eric, and but my leg was just really hurting. It was a 70-kilometer day, and we got to, I think, 50 kilometers, something along those lines, and my right leg was really hurting. I was really worried. It was really slowing me down. I was like thinking, it didn't feel like it was injured, but it just felt like it was painful. It felt like it could sort of cramp any moment, or I just couldn't get it moving. I tried the foam roller and that didn't really help. I managed to get onto the road, and I think we were around 60 kilometers when I said to Eric, look, or I think I was around 15 kilometers to go, 13 kilometers to go or something. And I said to him, look, Eric, I'm going to make it. I am going to make it. I don't know what time I will make it in the evening. Maybe it's midnight, but I will make it, even if I have to just sort of walk it. I was jogging all the way throughout, but my jogging was so slow. It was actually walking pace, but just a really casual walking pace. It was like 13 minutes for a kilometer. If you have to slow down your walking to get up to sort of keep with me. But technically I was still running. Yeah, there was always, it was still a run. I just didn't feel comfortable walking. So it was just a jog. And I said to him, I don't know how long it's going to take. I'm going to do it, but it's going to be just forever. It's going to take me 3 hours to get these 15 kilometers in. And then a couple of minutes later, Martin appeared, a friend of mine here in Harlem. He traveled all the way to meet me. And I saw him, and as with every single person that went running with me, everyone was so unexpected and so needed at that moment. And so I was so grateful to him. But yeah, that day especially, he turned up and he said, right, I'm pushing the buggy. Eric's there as well, and on the bike. It was a little bit of a tough headwind. And I said to him, look, I don't know. I'm going to try and jog a little bit beside you. But yeah, it's great that you can push the buggy for me. But yeah, let's see how we go. And so what happened, it was a bit like Kipchoge breaking 2 hours. So I was being protected from the wind. So Martin was running, and Eric, they were sort of on his bike. They were sort of protecting me from the wind. And I was just running there behind them in the banana suit, of course, with my grabber. So occasionally picking up trash, because even then I was still picking up some pieces of trash. Not a lot, but I was trying to focus to make sure I could go and do the next day. But I was still picking up the odd piece of trash. And suddenly, instead of 13 minutes per kilometer, I was running 6.5 minutes per kilometer. I was running, and then I think even at some points we were sort of close to 5.5 minutes per kilometer. Now that doesn't sound, for runners out there, it probably doesn't sound a lot, but bear in mind I was 70 kilometers, getting close to 70 kilometers into this day after having done 25, 26 of them in a row, 20 of these marathons. I just don't understand how I was able to do that. And I think the reason why I was able to do that is because suddenly I got this lift. I got this positive vibe or positive energy from this person that just showed up out of nowhere, and yeah, just to support me. It gave me the energy to suddenly push, and I was just so determined. I was just so focused on getting to the B&B before 8 o'clock, which I did. And that's only because of Martin just showing up. He was that because he was pushing the buggy and everything. It was like saying, I'm close to redlining here. So, and in fact, there were two times where I actually managed to really push hard. And both times it was with Martin. So I'm really sorry to you, mate. But the basically I was redlining you on the only two times I was actually trying to push a pace. But because of you, I sort of did both of those days, and you know, I'm so grateful to you for that. So thank you so much. But yeah, that was a perfect example of a dark moment when I would not, I would have done it. I'm not saying I wouldn't have been able to carry on, but I'm saying suddenly that picked me up and turned it from this real dark cloud above my head to sunshine shining down on me, and that was through the energy of this person just showing up, and Eric as well, who was sort of just there for the whole time, and that was true for everyone. The other dark time I had, sorry Eric, it's just because you were at the end towards the end of the week, the month. So again, Eric was there, and I turned to him at this one moment. So it was a couple of days later, and I think it's because I'd built myself up so much for that 70 kilometer, thinking if I can get this day done, this day from Bulk to Lelystad, if I can do that, I can get all of it done. I'm actually confident I can finish. It wasn't until that moment I thought I can finish. But then all of that tension just got released, and suddenly it's like, you doesn't matter what distance you run, that last part of it is always tough, even if it's a 5 kilometer or if it's a marathon. The last part's always tough, and I think it was the same thing for me. I just had this sort of low. I was like, I can do this, but then it became into a bit of a slog. And there's this one day, it's raining, awful, awful weather. Eric's on the bike, and I just turned to him and said, look, I've got a dark cloud over my head here. I'm really struggling mentally. So all I'm going to do is put my headphones on, listen to the radio, and then just get the distance done. It was okay. I've just got to slog this out. It's not going to be pleasant. I'm afraid I'm not going to be really engaging with people on the side like I've been trying to do all the way through. I'm just going to be struggling, but it's important that I get this done. I've got to finish this, and the best way is to put headphones on and just do it. So I did that, and I was going along for maybe 20 minutes, and then suddenly this car just went, just sort of screeched in front of me, and a person got out. This mother got out with two kids and said, "Yeah, I heard about you on the news. I think it's incredible." And so we had selfies. Took some selfies and just chatted, and then suddenly the energy of that interaction meant that the headphones came off. I just carried on. Suddenly I'm running with a grin again. And that is how I did it. The reason why I was able to do this crazy adventure at the age of 58 in a banana suit with every element added difficulty. A 40 kilogram buggy pushing that, and picking up trash constantly, and sort of just being self-supported, and everything just added on top of an already tough adventure of running 31 marathons, or 31 marathons plus each day. The reason I did it is because of people. Whether there are people that were running next to me, came to meet me, or whether it's because they were supporting me in a different way, or whether it was because they'd heard about my adventure, they wanted a selfie, or they wanted to say well done. So specifically, let's go through some groups and kids and people specifically. So huge shout out to Kirsten and Norbert. So friends from Germany, they've been supporting me for ages, and they really sort of hold a lot of the litter picking community and plogging community together. They're sort of like the glue that keeps us all united. Yeah, they support a lot of people in different countries, and they were a huge help. They sort of came to be with me during the sort of middle half for sort of three days, I think. They were also there on the last day, but they were there for 3 days, and it was like a pit stop crew. It was like fantastic. Yeah, they meant I could lighten my bag. You know, I didn't have to carry all the bags. They could put the bags in their car, so I had a lighter buggy, and they also sort of had sort of pit stops for me, and that was the only time really that happened. And they were a little bit frustrated because they're like saying, I said, what do you want to eat? What do you want to eat? And I sort of heard that Courtney Daughter, she just like has mashed potato. So I said, I actually love mashed potato and ketchup. So just have, all I need is mashed potato and ketchup. And they had all these huge pots, and all I would have is just like this really small portion, but that would be fantastic. So yeah, even though it felt like they were giving me just such a little piece of mashed potato and ketchup, it just was exactly what I needed, and it was just so fantastic having it, even if it was only like 5 mouthfuls before I said I've had enough, and then went on running. Yeah, they really sort of made sure that the middle half was something that I could achieve, and they were there for the other huge day, the sort of 75-kilometer day. So that was, without them, it wouldn't have been sort of possible. The the hugest shout out has to go to the people from Harlem, or the runners from Harlem. So I can't really go through all of them, but it just freaked me out that I would be in the middle of nowhere and suddenly I'd see a familiar face from someone I run with here in Harlem, and they've traveled 3 hours on a train, or they've all come together in a car for my birthday, or um, they've just gone so far outside of convenience for them to support me. And I I think yeah, every time it was a surprise. Every time it was the biggest gift. The biggest gift. It was just so amazing to have them just showing up, and it seemed to be always at the perfect time. Like I said, with Martin, with Richard, he sort of just suddenly came when I had a flat, and and all the crowd that came for my birthday, and yeah, and sort of the Rotterdam film crew, as we call each other. Yeah, sort of Mieta was there quite a few times, and Simona was there, and Bert and John, and I literally can just sort of list all of these people that were just so fantastic in the running community in Harlem, that just came out and met me and ran with me. It was amazing. And it wasn't just the runners from Harlem; it was also friends from Instagram that, we've been following each other for years, but then suddenly I'm meeting them as they're coming out to visit me. Some of them on trains. Sporty Zoo. Yeah, she literally just came, surprised me in the middle, in the top of the country. How is that possible? Yeah, Shiva is another one, and yeah, there was just so many runners. The running community. It really is. Plogging brings the two best communities in the world together. It brings the people that pick up trash. By definition, they care. They are a caring community. So having all of those and all of the different cleanups coming together, they're such a wonderful set of people. They really want a future for people. So they really are just nice people by definition. And I think the running community has that as well, whether it's because it's an individual sport that means that you feel like an individual. So you want to have that community around you, whatever the reason. The running community, I just have so much love for. It's incredible. It's the best. Two of the best communities have collided together into this plogging community. So having them all show around was just so fantastic. All the litter pickers that came to all the cleanups. The cleanups I'll talk more about another time, but having them, seeing these people that I've sort of followed or know of for years, and seeing them in person was just so fantastic. I had to do a huge shout out to Plogging Picking. So he was amazing. months before I did this, he said, "Yeah, I'm going to come and join you for sort of." Yeah, we decided it was 3 days. And I said to him, "Look, this is 3 days. That's 3 marathons." And he's like, "Yeah, if I can do it for if you can do it for 31 days, I can do it for 3 days." And so I got to the hotel where he was going to be meeting me, and suddenly he's there, and he's got a buggy. He's brought his own buggy to do exactly what I'm doing. It was fantastic. Just an incredible guy. Just loved it having those 3 days with him. It was just so wonderful. And Eric, of course, the godfather of blogging, the guy that brought the community together with the simple word of blogging. He was there for the last week, and I'm so glad he was, because he sort of saw the interactions and things that I had and all the things that made it special. And I think that both of us will be talking about this for years to come, because it was just such an incredible experience going past all these kids that were just new of me. And really, I think the biggest shout out, or the biggest gift that I was given, was being on Yoshinow, on the kids' news. Being on national TV, being on the children's news in the first week meant that every day after that, every day, I would be stopping and having selfies with kids, and they would be enthusiastic about what I was doing. I had a few school visits that were just incredible. And there's a 58-year-old guy in a banana suit running around, and the kids think he's cool. I think that is amazing. And they understand exactly what I'm doing. They know what I'm doing. And it's still going on. I did a cleanup this week in Amsterdam. I was in the banana suit, and two kids came up and asked for my autograph because they'd seen me sort of a month ago on the children's news. Incredible. Every dark moment, I was gifted with a ray of sunshine in the form of someone running with me, a form of someone saying hello, or especially kids coming up and saying, "It's cool what you're doing. Can I get a selfie? Well done." That's how I completed this. It's not because of my fitness. It's not because of anything. I got myself to the start line. People got me to the finish line. That is how I did it. And that's what gives me hope for the future, is if people can do that, then there's enough people in the world that means that we can have a future. There will always be someone that doesn't care. Maybe there's someone in an important position. They just don't care about the environment. But there will always be people that do care enough and are working hard enough, that are not giving up, that are carrying on, that are supporting each other to get us all to the finish line. Thank you to everyone that's been following my journey over May. Thank you to everyone that even joined me, whether you could have sort of come or not, whether you only tuned into one of the live streams on Instagram or not. It doesn't matter. Just having the support of everyone meant I made it to the finish line. That was the greatest gift. And that was the story, actually, of the Trail of Stedenblog, of the 1,500-kilometer run around the Netherlands. It was all about community and the wonderful people that actually care. They care about the future. They care about what I and so many people are trying to do in terms of inspiring people to take more passion in it, to show that sustainability is fun, that sustainability adds to your life. It doesn't subtract from it. So to everyone, thank you. Thank you. It's gone on for 45 minutes now. Wasn't my intention, but I just wanted to make sure, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone. P is for Perplexed. That was the name of the episode that I sort of thought of ad hoc as I started this 45-minute conversation. And it really is the right word, because I'm just yeah, every time I was stunned to see someone, every time I was so grateful to see someone. It was always unexpected. I never hoped for it at any stage. Oh, I hope, yeah. I was like, oh, I hope someone comes running with me now. That it was always, I've got to do this. I've got to do this. Oh, what are you doing here? Oh, wow, what are you doing here? That was exactly how my mind worked. It just couldn't process it. On my birthday, I wasn't expecting anyone to come. I had a whole filming day planned with a friend, Roger, and in the end, that just got thrown out the window, because our whole plan was that we'd be just doing this on our own, going through the countryside for a marathon without anyone around us. Suddenly, there was never a moment where I was alone with just to do some filming. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much to everyone. Um, the great thing with the podcast now is, because I'm doing a weekly vlog over on YouTube, to cover off what I've done during the day, I can really focus on topics I want to talk about. So hopefully the podcast is going to be more interesting to people. Hope you've enjoyed this. Hope you're going to subscribe and follow along to the next podcast. But they're going to be once a week now, and I'll try and do them on Thursdays. I think that's going to be the best day. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in and listening to this guy saying thank you. Thank you.